Hi everyone, Joe Kehrig with the Kehrig Real Estate Team, and this is your San Ramon Valley real estate update for the week of July 26. So, as we've been talking about the last few months, we've seen unprecedented appreciation this year, literally almost 10% a month. I mean, homes that were selling for $1.5 million in January are literally selling for $2 million or more. So the question, we all know, and we've talked about it before in previous videos, how we got here. Lack of inventory, lack of new home building, and then just the people wanting to move out to the suburbs, get a bigger yard, bigger bedrooms, and the fact that there's so much money out there. And from the Wall Street investors to just, the person who wants to own a bigger home, they're putting their money in real estate. And so all of those factors have created a perfect storm along with the 3% interest rates where real estate is the hottest commodity going. So the question is always, where is it going to stop and when does it stop? Because what drives up the prices is the multiple offers. Obviously, if a home's at $1.5 million and it only gets one offer, it's just going to sell for $1.5 million. But what happens, you get like 5, 6 offers, well, it's going to sell for $1.6 million. And then when you have $1.6 million, you get 5 offers, is getting up to $1.7 million. So literally, you have a situation where we've been seeing 10% appreciation almost every month, to the point that now $500,000 or $600,000 later, homes have gone up the first 6 or 7 months of this year. So where does it stop? Well, the first thing, I think for the first time, I'm hearing a lot throughout the country, but even in our area, for the first time, we're seeing a little bit of daylight. Now, the one thing we don't know is that just because we're getting into August. And pre-COVID, for 6 straight years, August was the slowest month of the year because people were getting ready for school. People were, getting their vacations in, their last vacations, because school starts mid-August. So I don't know if it's a blip, but we're kind of hoping to see things settle down a little bit. And here's the things that can settle down the market. Number one is the fact that with the runaway inflation we have now, interest rates going up a little bit. The other thing is we're getting a lot of calls from people sitting there going, Joe, my God, I've made $500,000 this year. We've been thinking about moving. Let's get out while the getting is good before maybe things settle back down. And so we're starting to see, we'll see less demand as interest rates go up, and hopefully more supply hit the market, which will even out the market. We're just starting to see now, like I said, less offers. So instead of getting 5 offers, we might get 2. Now, home prices haven't dropped yet, but if we see a continuation of that, you'll probably see them definitely settle down like they are now. But please understand, we're not going to see a huge drop in the prices because the supply and demand is a real thing. We have a lot more demand than we do supply, with the millennials wanting to buy. And literally over the last 14 years, there's been 5.6 million less homes built that normally would have been built over those 14 years. So we're still going to have a lot of demand, and the supply is way down. But hopefully, like I said, we'll see a little settling down. If we do see prices drop at all, it normally is just that last blip. So if a home was selling for 1.8 and then 1.9, and then all of a sudden a couple go for $2 million, we see, obviously, if it goes down, it might just go down to that last place before the last push. So somewhere around, 1.9 million. So, but we haven't seen that yet. Prices are as strong as they have been. Let's dive into the graphs and take a look, because one of the things I want to talk to you about is, are we basically seeing the end of suburbia? And I'll explain as we get into it, but let's look at the graphs. First, when you look at the San Ramon market, the one thing you see is the fact that the active properties have gone up, pending properties have gone down. So we're seeing a little bit of a correction in San Ramon, but when you look in Danville, it's basically very much as it has been. The active properties are barely keeping up with the pending properties. But at least we're seeing enough backfill of active properties that it will kind of keep prices from continuing, to go up. We look at the Blackhawk market, and you can see the Blackhawk market is almost dead even to what it has been. And then, of course, the Alamo market, same type of thing. Pending's up a little bit, but the active properties are keeping pace. And then, of course, Dublin, same thing. Pending's down just a little bit. Active properties are coming up. So we're seeing at least the active property keep pace. So as we see 10 homes go pending, we see 10 new ones come on the market, which is obviously the first sign that we might get some equilibrium to the market. But when you look at sold price to list price, you're seeing that San Ramon, Danville, Blackhawk, Alamo, and Dublin are all selling, over the last week for over 110% of asking. And that has been continuing for the last 3 to 4 months. So that's where we'll kind of see where, if we start to see those start to dip where things are selling for 105% of asking, if we go back to December and January, you'll see that things are selling for about 100% or 102% of asking. So this is really a great figure to look at, and one that we really want to look closely at, the next couple months to see, is this just a blip? And then after Labor Day, is the market going to continue to outpace itself, or is this the start of maybe things settling down a little bit? Definitely in other parts of the country, we're hearing the same thing. But again, they might be in the same situation where there's a natural slowdown for August because people getting their vacations in and obviously starting school. But we have a lot of sellers that are trying to hurry up and get their home on the market, afraid that they might see a little pullback in the market. So let's talk, as I mentioned before, are we seeing the end of suburbia? Well, there's a couple of things to look at. A few years ago, there was a bill signed and put forward by Governor Brown. And what it basically said, trying to get more housing and really more low income and low housing built, because there's obviously a huge shortfall of homes for people. Like obviously the average income can't even come close to buying something, with 10 or 20% down in the San Ramon Valley, when you have the average prices at $1.5 million to $2 million for a single family home. So there's a big push to try to get affordable housing. And I think something that was passed a couple of years ago was the fact that if a developer wanted to go in, I'll give you a perfect example. So if you look in San Ramon, where Nob Hill is in the marketplace, well, there's a proposal right now to build a 5-story apartment complex. And basically it's with a 4-story parking garage. Now that is so out of bounds for what's around it. I mean, there's, single-story shopping center, there's 2-story condo townhouses, there's single-family homes. And then all of a sudden, right in the middle, you see a 5-story apartment complex. Well, here's the thing is, with that law that was passed a few years ago, they can bypass, a developer can bypass up to 3 zoning violations or 3 zoning laws. In this case, they're obviously, in most Danville, San Ramon Valley, we have 2-story limitations on the height. Well, they can bypass that. Well, if you put 5 stories in an area, you're going to have obviously the concentration, basically the homes per square foot be a lot less than is normally required. Well, that's another law they'll pass, so that they can go through. So they can go through up to 3 zoning regulations, and the city or the county can't do anything to stop it. So that's number one thing it comes in. And then your perfect example over on Diablo Road behind the Bank of America building, they tore down all those office buildings, and 2-story residences was the most, apartment complex was the most that could be built. Well, they were able to put 3 stories in there. Over in San Ramon and Golden Skate, there's a proposal to put 5- and 6-story buildings over there. Like I said, Nob Hill, to tear down the Nob Hill shopping center and put 4- and 5-story buildings there. And there's going to be very little that the city can do to stop it because of this bill that was put through for California. Well, then just recently there was another bill passed. And what it was the fact that you can put an ADU unit. Now, first off, let's talk about before I get off of it, the bill of being able to bypass the zoning regulations. They can do it as long as 42% of the units in there are low, very low, or moderate income units. So that's basically how they can pass it. And the whole idea is to be able to put, condensed units in suburbia, that you normally wouldn't be able to build there, as long as, a certain percentage of them are low or very low, moderate, income. So the next thing to try to get more housing is the ADU units, where you can basically put an ADU unit in your garage. You can put one in your backyard. And so, and even if it's against the HOA, you can't stop it. People are now allowed to put an ADU unit in, which obviously is a small, second home or apartment. And they can even put it in a condo association in the garage, as long as it meets certain, safety standards. And there's nothing, again, an HOA can do to stop it. So that's another thing. So within the suburbias, we'll start to see, the alternative housing. We'll start to see 4 or 5 story buildings. But now there's a new law that's coming out. And it's not passed as of yet, but it looks like it's going to be passed. And it's called SB 9. And SB 9 basically does away with single family zoning. It makes single family zoning basically illegal. You can't basically enforce single family zoning. Now that doesn't mean a builder can't build a bunch of single family, homes, but even if you're in an HOA, even if you're in a gated community, a person, as long as, they haven't quite tweaked as far as setbacks and so forth like that, but if you've got a lot, you can basically subdivide that lot. You can't, before they would always say, hey, it's single family zoning, so you can't put another unit on that. Well, as long as there's room, you can now basically put 2 units, forgetting about single family zoning, you can put 2 units on that lot, and each one of those units can have an ADU. So if you're in a single family neighborhood, suburbia, and you have a decent sized lot where you have room to be able to do it, you can take your one house, you can put a second unit, and each one of those units can have an ADU. So you can literally have 4 units on what would be a single family. And that's SB 9. So you're really, and the whole idea behind it is because we have such a shortage of housing, it's to bring more housing. And obviously, like the 5 and 6 story buildings where 42% have to be low and very low income, it's the idea of bringing more housing in, and it's the idea of making that housing more affordable. Well, the negative of that, and I'm not making an opinion one way or the other, everyone can have their own opinion, is the fact that it basically does away with single family neighborhoods. Because now in the middle of a single family neighborhood, you can have a high rise. You can have basically an ADU unit in the garage. You can basically, if the lot's big enough, you can have 4 different, living spaces, on that lot. So again, the old traditional single family neighborhood where you have all the houses, one house on each lot, basically that will be done with. And for the most part, in a lot of neighborhoods, it would be kind of the end of suburbia that way. So anyway, give me your thoughts on what you think. Again, if you have any questions about any of this, or if you just want to chat about the value in your home, every home's a little bit different, reach out. Again, Joe Kehrig with the Kehrig Real Estate Team. My cell number is 925-487-6838. Again, 925-487-6838, or joe@kehrigteam.com, or visit our website, www.kehrigteam.com. Have a great evening, and again, let me know your comments. We'll talk to you soon, and as always, may God bless you, may God bless your family, may God bless the United States of America.